This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Tiege Hanley.
I remember Tiege Hanley wore number 14 with the Bruins, didn't he?
So this is the intro.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, sorry. My bad. Maybe we could use that, actually.
Fires one towards the goal. That's going to be blocked by Travis Ridgen. Well, this is more like it.
This is Slangin The Bizkit. Here's Travis Ridgen and Dave Wheeler.
Say something crazy like you're wearing ladies' underwear. Oh, I'm wearing ladies' underwear.
Well, are you?
I'm not.
Yep.
Apparently they're working on a new one.
Shrek 5?
Yeah. New Toy Story, too.
Speaking of scary, I don't want to start the show off and traumatize anybody, but after Game 7 that Vancouver lost to the Oilers, I was genuinely scared they were going to come burn my apartment down. I was really terrified. That we would have to have our first Instagram live stream under less than ideal circumstances.
You're referring to the Vancouver Riots after they lost to the Bruins in the Stanley Cup final. What year was that? 2011? Somewhere around? Yeah, 2011.
Don't forget about 94 too. They had riots then too.
And when?
94. They had riots in 94. You never seen the video online?
That one I don't remember as vividly as the one in 2011, because the one in 2011, like the 80s, you can kind of understand it, but in 2011, I literally remember watching people get interviewed that were outside. Like they had the little setup where you can go and, party if you couldn't make it into the game. They had an area and whatnot. And reporters are literally going over like, so what are you going to do after the game? They're like, we're going to stick around for the riots. And people are like, that's a weird thing to say. What are you going to be doing after the game? I'm sticking around for the riots. This is so strange. And we all saw it coming. Everyone knew it was going to happen. Nobody did anything about it. Nobody was like, listen, I've been hearing rumors of riots down here. We should probably send some people. No one seemed to care.
It seems like nobody here remembers the 94 riots, because the 94 happened and they went right from the, was it Rogers Arena? I don't know if they would have had Rogers Arena back then. Anyway, the arena that they played in.
That would have been, the
GM Place?
GM Play, does that sound right? Yeah, I think so. Was
it the Coliseum? I don't know. I'm not really well versed in my Vancouver building history, but they rioted all the way down West Georgia.
If it's not a hotel or a train station, Travis don't care.
I like Science World. Science World's kind of cool. I like a big glowing ball in the sky. They went all the way down West Georgia, and there was video online. I don't know if I can put it on the YouTube version. It might get flagged, but there was dudes kicking out windows at Starbucks and torching cars, and then they followed the exact same pathway in 2011 for the Bruins game when they lost in Game 7. And then when they were playing Game 7 versus the Oilers, I was thinking, okay, I'm a couple streets over from the arena. I should be okay up here on the 10th floor. Worst case, they burn the building down and I just leave out the back and then hope for the best. That was my escape plan.
What floor are you on?
The first.
Back to the whole Vancouver thing. I think they didn't riot because they were not in the Stanley Cup finals. Maybe a different story if they were in the finals. You got the whole, you didn't necessarily have all of Canada's eyes on you because you're in the Western Conference final and you're playing another Canadian team. But I want to go into how nobody's talking about it. Nobody has said a single word outside of listen, Brock Boeser couldn't play Game 7 because he's got blood clots. So moving on, let's go over to Cassie Campbell Pascal, and it is whoa, excuse me, can we back up for there for a second? It was just hey, Brock Boeser's got blood clots, he's not going to be playing Game 7. And nobody said, how does a 27-year-old who's in perfect athletic shape, literally just coming into the prime of his physical being, get blood clots? Go ahead, I'll wait.
Well, Dave, didn't you hear? The government cares about us, and the CBC would never lie to you.
You remember when the National Hockey League was the players, you got to make sure, or else you're not going to be allowed into the bubble. You can't ruin the bubble. You get that, and you've got to...
Oh, Dave, you conspiracy theorist. You're going to get us canceled off the internet.
No, you don't even use the conspiracy theorist. Why does a 27-year-old miss a game for blood clots?
Honestly, conspiracy theorist is a pretty cutting-edge word now. I feel like if somebody calls you that, it's you're just ahead of the curve now.
You know what the difference is between being a conspiracy theorist and being right? About 2 months.
In this day and age?
Seems to be. Oh, that's crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist. Wow, it turns out he was kind of right about that. That's weird. Huh. Oh, well, on with my day. Sorry, man. I think not having Brock Boeser in the lineup for Game 7 is... That lost them the game. It lost them the series. That's one of your best players on the ice, and you lose him for Game 7. That sucks.
When they had a 4-minute power play against the worst goalie in the league.
Yeah.
Silovs is playing great. I don't know who they had in net for Edmonton, but he's not the guy. They have a guy, but he's not the guy.
Silovs, I give him all the credit for coming in. Like, honestly, he was probably expecting this to be a black ace, go on a run with the Vancouver Canucks, take the odd practice, be the guy, go on the road trips, whatnot, sit up on the shelf, and maybe throw your skates on if you get to eventually get to the Stanley Cup and enjoy the champagne after. But to get thrown in, not really totally 100% being mentally ready to go in and carry your team, I give him all the credit in the world. I thought he was fantastic. And some other team will snap him up.
No, he's an RFA. That dude's going to get paid this summer. What do you think he's going to buy, though, with that money?
What I think he's going to buy? No idea. Outside of the mask, I couldn't pick him out of a police lineup.
Well, he's going to get a nice pay raise, right? He's an RFA. He started 4 games in the regular season, started 10 in the playoffs, a couple nasty saves, big blocker saves, backdoor on Hyman, I think it was, or maybe it was Hathaway, whoever it was in Game 7. Dude's getting paid. I'd be buying a new Tacoma if I was him, but that's just me.
What do you pay him to back up Demko?
2?
You've got to
give him 2.
I think another team be willing to pay more to have him start. There's a lot of desperate teams out there. I could see Patty Waugh picking him up.
I feel like there's like a Kijiji ad. I'll lowball you. I'm okay. You want to trade? What do you want to trade for? A Dell laptop from 2007. Okay, I'm okay.
I want footage of the 2011 Vancouver Riots.
It's on the video version.
Ultra 4K HD.
Oh, man. Before you carry on the more positive things, can I tell a quick little scary story in Vancouver from the other day?
Sure.
So I was telling Dave this before we started recording. I think we all know that in Vancouver there's quite a homeless and a drug problem. And we all know it's pretty bad, but I didn't realize how bad it was until this actually unfolded. So I'm a coffee lover. I'm at Starbucks downtown Vancouver. And I'm in line to get my hot chai tea latte. This homeless dude walks in, rolling his like wagon and all. Wagon, little scooter, trash bags, little tarp over top, wagon, all that stuff. He comes right up to the front of the line, makes eye contact with the barista. Hi, welcome to Starbucks. What can I get started for you today? Looks down, grabs all the Rice Krispie treats, all the chocolate-covered almonds, the kombucha too. I was upset about that one. The all the snacks, all the treats, the gift cards that hadn't been activated, and just books it out of there. See you later. Place got robbed. And nobody moved. Everything was casual. And again, thank God nobody got stabbed. I thought that might have happened, but nothing bad happened. I walk up to the barista. Hi, what can I get started for you? Before I asked for my venti hot chai tea latte in a Trenta cup, I asked, does this happen often? Like, how often does this happen usually? She said, usually a couple times a day. A day? Like 2-3 times usually. Oof. Like, you imagine you get robbed 2 to 3 times every single day?
We had a Starbucks shut down here in Osborne Village, which was voted one of the best neighborhoods in Canada for decades on end. And they just shut down what was I would say, kind of their flagship location in Winnipeg, just because they said, it's just because of construction, traffic, and the neighborhood and people. And they just kind of trailed off and just kind of gave one of those reasons. And there's a giant tiger that's shutting down. There's places shutting down all over the place. Like, yeah, man, it's from Vancouver to Winnipeg and everywhere in between. In Toronto, you might as well leave your keys on the front porch so you don't have to worry about someone breaking in to take them. Like, listen, it's just better if you just leave the keys. That way no one gets hurt and they just take the car. Like, I mean, like, where are we? What are we doing? This is not the Canada I grew up in.
Didn't the Toronto police make they had like a video the other day? They're like, you're probably better off just leaving the keys in the ignition for them to take. Or like
that's exactly why I brought it up. Like, just leave them outside the door. It's a lot easier that way. A friend of mine, like, I have a firsthand story of a friend who has been broken into 3 times this month. 3 times this month. Still, police have basically said, listen, there's not a whole lot we can do. There's not a lot we're going to do. Maybe improve your security a little bit. So she improved her security, got broken into again, had video this time. They're like, not a whole lot we can do. There's not a whole lot we're going to do. She's still waiting on insurance. Like, it's happening everywhere, man. It's happening everywhere.
You see the Mitch Marner carjacking too. They held him up at gunpoint, robbed him. That got thrown out the other day in court too. They said they didn't have sufficient evidence.
Yeah, I read a story about a young woman, 29 years old, who stole a septic truck. Like, this is right out of Grand Theft Auto. Stole a septic truck and went on a joyride, was running vehicles off the road. They finally had to use the spikes to put to take the wheels out and put her in a ditch on a provincial road. And she was out later that day, or if not the next day. It's just, it's ridiculous.
Wow. Dude, if I was working at Starbucks and I knew we were getting robbed 2 to 3 times a day, like, imagine you come in for your shift and you're like, okay, I probably 1 to 2 robberies. Dude, you could bring in like 100-pound propane tank cylinder and start barbecuing Smokies in the middle of the store. I ain't doing shit. like, please, bro, stop. I'm not doing anything.
Listen, here's and you know what, and I get you, I feel you, I understand, but I think that's part of the problem is that people aren't willing to do things. I mean, it's very rare that you see a social media video where somebody actually intervenes rather than just people just sitting there with their cell phones going, "Look, it's crazy, it's happening again. Watch them run." I'll tell you a story about when I was out in interior BC in the Okanagan Valley, and we were down at the river, the Thompson River, in Kamloops, and there was this really great ice cream joint. And so we took the family down there. My brother was there, his fiance was there. We had a bunch of people there, and my brother and I had to kind of walk down these stairs. And my brother and I heard this commotion, and so we're like, "Yeah, let's just wait here. We're just gonna go down." We go down, and there's this dude who's just. He's not robbing the place, but he's having an episode. We'll call it an episode. He's having an episode on the floor, and there was this woman who was trying to talk him off the ledge a little bit, and so my brother and I just kind of stood there. These 3 kids, and I'll call them that because they were much younger than me, but kids the age that you should be working at an ice cream store as your first job. All 3 of them backs pinned up against the wall, like scared to death. They don't know what to do. There's blood on the floor and whatnot. And so finally, I just kind of like started clapping my hands like, "Okay, bud, let's go. On your feet. Come on. Time to get going." And all of a sudden, the woman who was kind of dealing with him for the first 5 minutes that I was standing there gets in my face. She's like, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm trying to get him out of here. He's scaring the employees, and this is not a place to do this." It's like, "We need to have more sympathy for him and whatnot." And even my brother pulls me aside like, "Yeah, man, we don't do that out in BC." And I was like, maybe that was the Winnipeg in me coming out a little bit. It's like, "All right, let's go. Move on. Sorry, there's people that need to be doing commerce and whatnot here." And I just kind of thought maybe that's why the problem's getting worse, because nobody's willing to kind of stand up and go, "All right, what's going on here? Let's see if we can figure this out." You know what I mean? There's not enough people intervening. It's kind of going, "All right, go ahead. Do whatever you want, whatever." And I get it. It's not worth getting stabbed over. The police will tell you that. It's not worth getting stabbed over. It's not worth getting shot over. I get all that. But until we kind of stand up as a society and go, "We don't want this. Like, we're willing to help fix it, but we don't want this," then I think it's going to keep getting worse.
Well, I get us canceled if I was to say "make shame great again."
Oh,
Can I say that?
I don't know if shame's the right word, but I understand where you're coming from. It's a tough love perspective, and I get it, but there's got to be a middle ground here somewhere.
Well, speaking of robbery, Game 1, Panthers, Rangers, Bob, how about it?
He was unbelievable, man. Like he was unbelievable. They're going to ride him again. They're going to ride him all the way to the Cup Finals. I don't think the Rangers are out of it yet. I think that's a heck of a hockey team. You've got Shesterkin, who is a Class A, world-class goaltender. You got Jacob Trouba, who I think is a great leader. He showed flashes of that in Winnipeg, and it really bummed me out when he left. I was like, "No, he just wanted to go to New York." Yeah, I don't blame him. His wife's a practicing PhD, and she wanted to work in New York. And he was like, "I'm going to support you in our marriage. Let's go. I have the ability to transfer with my job." I don't blame him one bit. And look at what he's doing over in New York. I think he's a great leader, and I think he's going to go down in history as one of the best. I would say he is the Brian Leetch. It works out that he's also a defenseman, and he's playing with the New York Rangers, but. Yeah, he's leading that team, man. I don't think the Panthers are quite out of the woods yet. They're going to have to ride Bobrovsky hard.
Man, you remember when Bob was in Columbus and he was just shitting the bed left and right? Everybody's talking about how much of a bad playoff performer he is, and now the last 2 playoffs, he's just been so nasty. Like, his post work, absolutely outstanding. Probably the best skater in the entire league. The fact, like, his hands and his shoulders are world class. Always active, always making saves. Great head, great pivots. Like, I always get so amazed and just obsessed with Bob because there's so many little intricate details of his game that you can never obsess over enough to learn something from. And I mean, there's a reason why he's a Vezina candidate. He's one of the best in the world. He has been for a while. But man, Bob is the man right now. The man.
Back when he was with Columbus, that's when Jay Onrait and Dan O'Toole were having Officer Bobrovsky.
Bell, let's talk.
All right.
Sorry. Let's keep it positive today. Let's keep it going. Vezina, by the way, Bob, Bobrovsky, I was going to say Markstrom for a second. Thatcher Demko, Hellebuyck. Who do you got for the Vezina?
Listen, I know it's always easier to say Bobrovsky right now because of the way he's playing and he's front of mind, but for my money, I still think Hellebuyck was the guy that got the Jets to where they were, and I think he is your I think he is your Vezina winner, regardless of the fact that he lost out in the first round. A lot of people are pinning it on him, but as he said, he can't do it by himself.
Did you watch that post-game interview, like after the Game 5, where you could kind of see him going in and out of, like, kind of blaming the team, and then no, it's my fault, and then it was a little bit of the team. Then, well, I had to be better though. I'm not saying this though. By the way, like, you could see like his body language, like there was like a subconscious, in effect, language. He was kind of being like, my team kind of hung me out to dry this series.
He was trying to keep it together to be a good team player because he realizes he's got a very long contract at Winnipeg. So I give him credit for holding it together. But listen, who doesn't want to let their true emotions show when they get a microphone shoved in front of their face right after they lose?
How about Trouba after game one? Yeah, Igor didn't play very good. He sucked. He knows it.
Yeah. Hey, listen, that's what a captain does. Calls you out when you're not playing right, and hopefully it's motivation. He knows how to motivate those guys. I think it's great. That's another reason why I think he's a great leader.
You think Demko has a chance at the Vezina?
No.
Why not?
It's a good question. I don't think the numbers were there, but I think he had a lot more chess pieces in front of him that were akin to helping him get there. Like his shots were. I don't want to take anything away from Demko. I think he's a heck of a goaltender, great goaltender, but he had a really good defensive system around him.
Absolutely great defensive system, but he's also, this is what amazes me about Demko, 6'6", insanely flexible, probably the most flexible for the biggest guy out there. If you're gonna like ratio them, you know, like when you're playing Mario Kart, you want like drifting or drafting, or you want braking or acceleration. He kind of has a bit of both. If you were to kind of compare the both, great shoulders, great hands, the absolute world-class post work. Like Demko is also the man. I mean, every NHL goalie is the man, maybe like except Stuart Skinner, but they're all really pretty nasty.
Listen, going back to Bobrovsky for a second, one thing I've noticed about him, especially in that series against the Bruins, he's not a big guy in it. When you mentioned Thatcher Demko, like he has the mobility of a smaller guy.
You know what's sad though? Bob is only 6'2", only 6'2".
Yeah, right, exactly. Like he's still a big guy for average height, but for goaltenders, he's actually on the smaller scale. So what I like about him is that he throws his whole body, like he tries to get the puck to hit him in the logo every time. Like he doesn't motion so he's going to stop. Like he'll get his whole body in. He's like, oh, screw my glove! Here comes my body! Like it's like he's trying to jump in front of somebody to save a bullet or something. It's great. Like, do not touch the net! That is very delicate! Like he's trying to get it in the middle of the logo every time, like the biggest part of his body. It's a really interesting way to goaltend.
We call that a center shift.
There you go.
You shift the center into the puck. Center shifting. He's great at it. World class.
Are you a center shifting of that mindset when you're in goaltending? You're like, I just need to stop it however I can.
A bit of both. I mean, like you try to get your body into saves and kind of like shift blocker, shift glove, because like you can only do so much with reaching, and then you also like you open up holes, and that's kind of the name of the game as a big guy. Like when you're a Demko, and this is what makes him so impressive, is at 6'6", the holes are so huge. They're just gaping everywhere. Like you could just find holes left and right, but when you can finally like shift into the puck, blocker saves, pad saves, like you don't open up holes and you maximize that coverage, which again is it's a skill in and of itself, because realistically probably like 80, maybe 75 to 80% of all goals in the NHL are the goalie getting out of the way. And I know that sounds kind of crazy. It's not like dodgeball where they're like jumping out of the way, but let's say like guys coming down to me right here and I'm anticipating my blocker's coming out, and then he shoots in between. Like I literally got out of the way to bring it back in, and I gave him the goal. Gave him inches.
Yeah, I getcha.
Center shifting helps. But you know what also helps, Dave?
Been there. What else helps?
Tiege Hanley, uncomplicated skincare for men, and the presenting sponsor for today's show. Tiege Hanley is uncomplicated skincare for men. They give you everything you're going to need and nothing that you don't. I've been using Tiege for almost 4 years now, and right here on the screen you'll see their level 1 system. It includes a daily face wash, which is awesome. They have an AM moisturizer with sun protection, so when you're going outside, protect yourself from the sun's rays. PM moisturizer before bed, eye creams, eye serums, all that great stuff, as well as a twice-a-week exfoliating face scrub. And right now, you get up to 40% off your first skincare bundle at Tiege Hanley with the link in the video description, as well as this awesome silicone body scrubber. $20 value on the house, plus their level 1 system, only from the team at Tiege Hanley. Uncomplicated skincare for men. Go to the link in the video description or on the Apple, Spotify podcast notes and get a skincare system that is going to help you up your confidence, up your skincare game, and make you feel like the man that you deserve to be. Thank you again to Tiege Hanley for sponsoring this show.
Hey, what do you eat before you play?
Food.
Thanks, genius.
Water. My glass of air.
Well, I know you have coffee before you. You have a coffee in your hand when you get to the rink. That I know.
2 usually.
Yeah. So the coffee, the caffeine, the stimulant, that I get. But I mean, what time are you eating? And before game time, what time are you eating at? And what are you eating?
It depends. So like when I was in Sweden, we had the best pregame meal ever. We'd have this like little hot box. We'd take it on the bus for us. And when I say bus, we're only going like 3-4 hours away, whether it's, you know, east, south, or north in Sweden. But we
thought smoking marijuana was illegal over there.
No, there is no marijuana.
So how are you hotboxing?
A hot box for food. You know, like a hot box, like a chef's hot box.
I got you.
Funny, Dave.
That was a 420 joke.
Is it 420? Oh, yeah. Wait, no.
No.
That was a month ago. God, too many pucks off the head. Jesus. Get it together, Travis. I feel like Mika Kiprasov, after the guy retired, he's like falling asleep. He's like, oh, blocker save. Oh, God, glove save. The guy was just shell shot from 10 years in Calgary. Anyway, so we would have schwarzbular, so meatballs, boiled potatoes. I know the boiled meat or the boiled potatoes kind of sound gross, but they were really good. A little salt and pepper on there, some lingonberry sauce, fresh green beans, and like a plethora of other meals. They were always so good, and we'd always have extra. So I'd always have a good meal, usually times 2 for my pregame meal, probably like 3.5 hours before the game. But then fast forward to the last 2 years where you're getting the all-you-can-eat food poisoning special at Olive Garden with a side of chicken parmesan on behalf of their all-you-can-eat breadsticks, soup, and salad. And sometimes we get like Little Caesars pizza. On occasion, if we were on good behavior, we get Chipotle, which is pretty nice. Chipotle was good. You get the, I think I mentioned this in the vlog, but you go to Chipotle, you just get like a regular bowl, guac, salsa, whatever, with a side, 3 tortillas. They're like 25 cents. And so then you can make your own burritos on the bus. And you ask for a water cup filled up with Coke Zero. So now you got a $2 drink, you got the free tortillas, you got a whole burrito, you got a pregame meal and a postgame meal, all on the team.
Look at him, just working the system. I love it. I love it. I was actually giving you credit on my radio show about we were talking about people who return things, like they'll buy something, wear it, leave the tag on, return it when they're done with it. And so we got into that conversation. But I actually brought you up. I've never seen someone work a Starbucks system better than you. So listen, I always know that if you and I are going out to eat, we're going to get the best deal possible regardless of where we are. I'm curious to know why you eat, because I saw an old commercial float up online.
Why do I eat? Because I'm living, Dave. I'm a big boy.
What?
You said, I don't know why you eat, because I'm living. I'm a big boy. I'm growing. I'd die if I didn't eat.
No, the reason why I brought it up is because I came across an old commercial, and it was great, where I think it was Dougie Gilmore, and they were talking about just how much the game has changed. And they're sitting there, and these 3 guys are sitting there with a giant mound of spaghetti. He's like, you guys don't carb load anymore? And I came from the generation where we would carb load. Like before every single game, they would sit us down at a bad Italian restaurant and just order lasagna and spaghetti. Do you want the lasagna or the spaghetti? You had the spaghetti last time? Then the spaghetti again or lasagna? Lasagna or spaghetti? Spaghetti, lasagna. Do you want spaghetti in your lasagna? Because that's all it was. It was just carbs. And we realized...
Did you just say, do you want spaghetti in your lasagna?
Yeah. Like literally, that's all we ate was pasta. And I'm going to ask you this question, but the best meal I ever had, we had a home game. I had overslept. It was an afternoon game. I had overslept, and I was late for the game, and I had nothing. So keep in mind, I had nothing to eat until the night before, and I went out, and as a defenseman, and I didn't score a lot of goals. 2 of them I scored in that game, and I felt great. I moved quick. I was light. I made good decisions. I wasn't even trying to score, and I put 2 pucks in the back of the net, and I just thought, I'm not going to eat again. Like I think I figured out I need to be light. I'll eat the night before, and then it was like, all right, back to the spaghetti and lasagna, and then just back to the carb loading. And now we realize that if anything, yeah, you get a few carbs in you the night before, but you want protein. That's the stuff that's going to carry you now. And I just wish we would have known back then what we know now. So on that, best pregame meal you've ever had?
Meatballs in Sweden.
Yeah, well, there you go. Full protein, no
I
carb.
got a great meal story for you, though, like a pregame meal story. This is great. And on the topic of like making shame great again. So for one of the teams I played in the Fed, I won't say which team, but so in minor pro hockey, the bus leaves at 1 p.m. for pregame meal. We go, we sit down from 2 to 4, we eat, we come back to the hotel, go to the game, whatever combination. But when the bus leaves, the bus leaves. And if it's 1 and you show up at 1:01, you're not eating. And so one of the teams I played for, I love this. This was so great. I'm always of the belief if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. So the bus leaves at 1, get there at 12:45. Some guys like to, they like to push the envelope a bit and show up at like 1:15. So this one time we went to, I think it was Ruby Tuesdays for a pregame meal. And 2 of the guys didn't make the bus. And so we went, sat down, we had our meals, and coach says, hey guys, can I have your attention, please? Can everybody please take a picture of their meal and send it to Z and Ross? And make sure that they know that they messed up. Can we just all send them a picture of our meals? And we just text them a picture of our meals.
Oh, it's amazing.
Make shame great again in minor pro hockey 2025. Let's go.
That's okay. They didn't care. They stole a bunch of Rice Krispie treats from Starbucks before they got to the rink, so they're good.
No comment. I've seen some interesting things in the Fed.
Yeah.
It's called
we're
what?
not allowed to tell Fed stories anymore, by the way.
Yeah, we're not talking about them anymore. We're moving forward. We're moving on with better stories. But I did have actually a really good story that was piggybacking off our last episode. So me and Dave did the Corey Schneider interview like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, which will be coming up this summer, which, by the way, all these summer interview series, the reaction videos that are going to come up this summer, if you're a Patreon or a YouTube channels member, you're going to get them about 3 weeks early. So sign up. It's $5 a month to get those early. And then you also get the trading cards, you get some deleted episodes, all that fun stuff. There's a link in the description. Thank you for your support. And also shout out to Dylan Mimitz. He's in the U.S. National Guard. Shout out to Dan, the Busey Express, just outside of Hamilton, and all the U.S. military members that are our Patreon and YouTube channels members. You guys are awesome. But
as the father of a young man who is a cadet and an aspiring Air Force pilot, or just a pilot in general, I'm not allowed to salute you, but I salute you. I'm not going to do the hand thing, though, because I'm not
in the words of Brian Johnson, for those about to rock, we salute you.
We salute you. My eldest boy, big AC/DC fan. I'm also getting him into Avenged Sevenfold right now. I ever tell you my Avenged Sevenfold story?
You meet Sinister Yates?
I didn't meet Sinister Gates, but I interviewed Zach, which was pretty cool. And I interviewed him over the phone, and we talked about guitars and whatnot. And this was all leading up to their show that was in Winnipeg years ago. And so my brother's a huge fan of Avenged Sevenfold. I'm a fan of Avenged Sevenfold, not to the extent that my brother is. And so I thought I'd introduce my youngest son to it. But I bumped into a guy the other day, actually, when I was picking him up from cadets, and he had one of the instructors had a Avenged Sevenfold shirt on. And so we started chatting about the band and whatnot. And my wife and I went to the show. I had tickets come across my desk, and we went to a little restaurant across the street from Canada Life Center. And we're setting up at the bar, and there was a bunch of people there, and they're wearing their Avenged Sevenfolds. There's these 4 guys who were just, can't wait for the show. And they were excited. It gets close to showtime. I wasn't interested in seeing the opening band, nor was my wife. My wife was coming along as a courtesy. She's not a fan of Avenged Sevenfold. Couldn't name you one song. Couldn't pick them out of a lineup. If she heard the name again, she'd be like, I've never heard of them before. So these 4 guys take off across the rink. 2 of them come back about 5 minutes later, and they're bummed out. Like, they are just destroyed. And I got to tell them, like, what happened? And they're like, we bought fake tickets online. Someone screwed us. Someone sold us bunk tickets. And I looked over at my wife, and I said, you don't care about this show, do you? She goes, no. And I said, come grab my tickets, guys. And they're like, what? Seriously? Like, oh, my God. And they were just the most excited. They bolted back out the door. And my wife goes, you sure? And I was like, yeah. I said, honestly, it means more to them than it does to me. Like I said, I'm a fan, but those are mega fans. They need to see that show. This guy down on my left who had been pretty quiet the entire time we were there goes, in this southern accent, goes, man, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And I was like, oh, hey, no big deal. I work in radio. I get tickets to stuff like this. I'm sure I'll see them again another time. He goes, no, man, I've been around with these guys for the entire tour, and that's the coolest thing I've seen on tour. And I said, oh, you're with the band? He goes, yeah, I'm the head roadie with the band. And so we ended up sitting down talking to him for the rest of the evening. And to me, that was way cooler because I got one of the coolest stories I had ever heard of in my life from this guy. Instead of going to the show. And the story goes like this. He happened to be a roadie that was working with the Michael Jackson's last tour, which never happened because he died. But he was one of the roadies, so he was there when they were setting up the stage. He was there when they were setting up and trying to figure everything out. Now, if you remember Michael Jackson, he's the guy that brought up the moonwalk and whatnot, like he's a legend. He did these really cool stage things, like he put on a big show. Do you remember the Smooth Criminal video where they would lean? They were all wearing those classic like mob outfits and whatnot, and they do the big lean. They do that on tour as well, and the way they did it was they would have these little nails on the stage, and in their shoes they would have a little notch where they would go in and they would click their shoe into that nail, and then they could lean. They would have the ability to lean on that, and so it was really cool. And so he said Michael was trying to do another version of that for this new tour, and he's talking with the stage manager and the director and whatnot. And I can't remember, he couldn't remember exactly what it was because there was so much going on, but he goes, it was something to the extent where he wanted to like walk up the side of a wall. And he says, Michael, the stage director goes, Michael, like this is next to impossible to do. Like, why is this so important to you? And Michael Jackson, he says he was there when he said it. Michael Jackson says, because God told me in a dream that if I don't use this idea, he's going to give it to Prince. What? Okay. Thank you. It was worth the price of admission to get a first-hand story like that about Michael Jackson. Thank you. I'm happy to pass off my tickets.
Man, I love MJ, but if he could just like not touch kids, he would have been such a beauty.
See, I thought we were keeping things positive on the show today.
Sorry.
And then he had to go there.
I feel like it's pretty common knowledge, though, that he did that.
If we're going to talk about an old man beating up kids, let's talk about Mike Tyson beating up Jake Paul.
Also, can we appreciate... So, Me and Dave put this in the program because I saw this meme the other day. It was like AI generated, like Jake Paul walking to an old folks home being like, I'll fight anybody in here. I'll fight anybody in here. Any one of you, Dave included.
Well, you know what? Mike Tyson was beaking him a little bit too. Like seriously, like who has he beaten? You've beaten a bunch of old guys. You've beaten retired guys. Guys who are like, I'm done fighting, and then Jake Paul's like, yo, whoa, not yet. Not yet.
One more time.
Hang on. Did you say you were done? So he's right. And I mean, I like the way that the one interviewer during one of their press conferences called him out. He's like, go fight a ranked boxer. I've been saying that forever. If you want to be taken serious as a boxer and not just a prize fighter, go through the ranks. Go see who you are against these ranked boxers. But I don't think he's going to have that opportunity because Mike's going to beat him so bad I don't think he's ever going to box again after July 27th.
We appreciate Mike's reaction where he's like, what did you call me? What did you say?
Oh, man.
Holy shit.
See, if anything, the reporter was scared. Jake Paul is probably going, oh, man. Like, what did I get myself into? Like, Mike Tyson could be like, hi, nice to see you. Everything's great. Thanks so much for having me on your show, and thanks for this opportunity. But the second you get in that ring, you're seeing a different human being. Like, you've taken the dog literally out of the cage and let him off the leash. It's going to be a massacre.
He had an interview the other day. He said, I'm pretty nervous right now, but the closer we get to fight night, I'm just going to get less and less nervous to the point where I'm not even nervous. I'm just going to hurt you.
Right. Exactly. Like, he takes all those nerves and he turns it into murder weapons with his two hands. Like, I don't care how old he is. You never lose that. And I know I've seen interviews with him before. He's like, no, I don't think like that anymore. Joe, and I'm a peaceful guy and whatnot. But the second you can say, all right, you're allowed to go out and try and kill someone again, that's when the rage monster comes out. It's literally like Bruce Banner and the Hulk. You got Mike Tyson, who is the nice, soft, like, I smoke weed, and, I experiment with mushrooms and whatnot. And then, all of a sudden, you hit a trigger word, and you've got the Hulk.
We get him in a first-class flight on Southwest Airlines with some guy beaking him, throwing peanuts at him from behind him, and just beats the wheels off of him in business class.
How dumb are you as a human? I don't get it. Actually, I was it Kimmel, I think, who said they did a bit called Mike Tyson is right behind you. And so they stopped people on the street. They were doing little streeters. And Mike Tyson was literally in the building right behind them with the door watching these reactions. People like, would you call Mike Tyson one of the greatest of all times? I don't know. And then Mike comes out and stands behind them like this. I thought that was fantastic. Little stuff like that. It shows that he has a sense of humor. He was in The Hangover. Like, he's an entertainer, if nothing else. And that's why he's doing these press conferences with Jake Paul and Jake is a promoter. Jake knows what it's going to take to sell tickets to this event and get eyes on it for Netflix. Neither of them are dumb people. They know how to promote a fight. I just want to get to the fight now. I don't need all of the circus show. It's fun. It's great when we get clips like that, but I just want to see the fight. I can't wait.
What date is that fight? Are we going to be in Saskatoon together for that fight? I think it's on that weekend.
No,
right?
it's the week after. We're in Saskatoon. It's at the end of July. But yeah, do you want to tell everyone about our Saskatoon trip?
Oh, yeah, we're doing a boys' trip to Saskatoon, Dave and I. I'm flying back to Winnipeg mid-July. We're going to do a road trip from Winnipeg down to Saskatoon to stay at the Bessborough Hotel, the best Bessborough Hotel, Castle on the River in Saskatoon for 4 nights. I'm so excited. We're going to go golfing, a little boys' trip, a little boys' retreat, do some podcasts and stuff, a little road trip, some connecting time out in nature in the beautiful prairies of Saskatoon, Dave's favorite city. Although, you've been getting shit on by the people of Saskatoon lately.
I don't know why. I love Saskatoon. Saskatoon's great. It's Regina that I'm not a fan of.
Well, every time
By
I
the
post
way,
a clip...
I had to drive through there, and that new bypass, oh my God, is that ever handy. Thank you so much for building that. It is fantastic. Why is Saskatoon mad? Because I'm making fun of their little brother?
No, I think Saskatoon's mad because you say how clean it is, and people are like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. Stay in Winnipeg. We don't want you here. But we're coming. We're coming, Saskatoon.
We're coming.
We love your city.
I do. I love it. I love Saskatoon. I think it's great. One of my dear old friends, Jeremy Dodge, is there. I can't wait to see him.
Was he going to come by the Bessborough and come see us?
Probably. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, I'm so excited. They're really setting us up with the VIP. Like, they're giving us like rooftop access. Like, Dave and I are going to see like literally on top of the city, on top of the castle on the river. I'm excited for the whole South Saskatchewan or North Saskatchewan River, like the whole valley. I'm just really excited, man. Summer, peak of summer. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time.
And we're going to go golfing.
We're going to go golfing.
We're going to go golfing.
Smacking and whacking. Actually, you know what? I'll have golfed twice in 2 weeks at that point in time. I'll be ready to go.
Can't wait.
You want to put some money on this?
Dude, bring your wallet. Speaking of wallets, Can I tell you, I finally got my Ridge. This thing's a beauty. I love it. Nothing falls out. It's awesome. I got room for cash there. I've got room for my cards. Like, it's dynamite. I love it. Like, look, it's all packed in. It's beautiful. Look at that.
Tell me that doesn't beat the paint can you had in the backyard that you were burying for 10 years.
Oh, man. I've gone through so many wallets, but no, this thing is awesome. It came with a little screwdriver so I can tighten it up if it gets loose. Like, it's just, I am sold on the Ridge wallet. Everything stays nice and tight in there. It's easy to get whatever card I need to. Just kind of poke it out. Sometimes I'll take them out and just shuffle through them. I love it. I thought you were going to say you ran through so many paint cans over the years. That too. So, yeah, you got to learn to drive.
The Ridge wallet. Right now, they're having their Father's Day sale on until June 15th. The Ridge, it's sleek, it's stylish, portable, lightweight. They have a lifetime warranty. You find any reason why you don't like it, they'll return your money, no questions asked. It is awesome. It's the same wallet I've been using for years now. I wouldn't use anything but it. And right now, you go to the link in the video description at ridge.com/Trav. There's no promo code at this point in time. We're just doing like affiliate links. So you go click on that link. It'll get you up to 40% off all Ridge products right now, whether we're talking about their wallets, their backpacks, carry-on luggage, only from the team at Ridge Wallets right now. So link in the description, Apple, Spotify, podcast notes, click on that, up to 40% off the collection from Ridge Wallets. And again, thanks to Ridge for being a part of the show and sponsoring us moving forward through into the summer and into the fall. You guys are awesome.
It's different in the U.S. than it is up here. Canada pays way too much for our cell phone plans. There's no doubt about that. But I remember we had Tom Arnold come into studio one time, and he had iPads were a new thing, right? And he had his iPad, and we had iPads here too. But he was like, I can't get connected to my 3G here, with my iPad. And I'm like, well, I didn't know you could do that. Like, nobody in Canada was doing that. You didn't run your iPad off your cell phone towers. You just ran it off Wi-Fi. And that to me was always kind of like, okay, America's obviously got better Wi-Fi, better LTE, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, the fact that we still haven't caught up, would you say shame us into making it better?
Make shame great again 2025. Bring back shaming. Your Wi-Fi blows. Do better. Your pregame meal sucks. Make it better.
Make pregame meals carbs again.
You didn't show up for the team bus? Have fun playing hungry, nerd. I have a really awesome Luongo story. I was going to mention it from earlier, but do you mind if I tell that one real quick before we cap off?
Roberto Luongo. Well, it's funny you say that because Corey Schneider, when we have him on the podcast coming up, he's got some loose stories to share. But yeah, I'm curious to hear yours.
Man, Roberto Luongo. I have probably one of the best Luongo stories you'll ever hear out there. So this is 2015, 2016, and Roberto Luongo was a guy that I've been watching my entire childhood. Now, if you don't know, there was a period of time where I was making NHL montages of my favorite NHL goalies. So Roberto sends me a message, sends me a DM, said, hey, do you mind making this specific video for me? It's custom. Is that a problem? No, not a problem. Boom, crank it out. Here's your video. And then this is the same guy I would watch Hockey Night in Canada on growing up until like midnight. I'm in Winnipeg. He's playing in Vancouver. I'm watching until like midnight, 1 a.m. because I just love watching this guy so much. So like this is just so cool, the fact that he had asked me to make a video for him. And then fast forward 2015, 2016, he's like, hey, I'm going to be in Winnipeg. Do you want some morning skate passes, some VIP passes? I was like, sure. And, the fact that nobody watched the Florida Panthers at this point in time was great because me and my dad went down to MTS Center at the time in downtown Winnipeg. We got to watch Roberto Luongo's morning skate for an hour, watch this guy in the office and see all the details that make him so special and so great. And there wasn't a single soul in the building outside of my dad and I. And it was just such a cool moment to share that with my dad, to be able to watch one of the greatest goaltenders to ever grace the game, the grace goalie pads, live in the form in the morning skate. And I think he might have given up like 2 shots the entire hour. I couldn't believe it. I remember making a comment to my dad, and there's a little YouTube video on my main channel about that. And I think you can hear me saying, Dad, it's been an hour. I think he's only given up 1 goal. And my dad's like, he's a darn good goalie, son. And it's true. And to top it all off, this is all cool. But Lou gets off the ice, and I just figured, hey, here's some free passes. Go home. Hope you had a good time. He says, hey, Trav, come here. And we stop and get a picture, Roberto and I, and then he gives me 2 of his own personal sticks. Like, here's my sticks. Thanks again for making the video. Thanks for your support. Have a good day. Like, what? Like, I don't have enough words to say how thankful I was for that because that was really my coolest first experience, like, ever interact with an NHL guy, let alone one of the greatest of all times. You know what? I would love, probably will never happen, but I would love to get Roberto on the podcast and just have an actual discussion with him to kind of peel back the layers a bit, because I feel like there's so much we don't know about him because he's never done a podcast before. But to actually get to know him on a personal basis as a man, like the guy behind the pads, not the goalie, I'd be curious. I don't think he'll ever come on the show, but I would love to know.
Well, one thing I always love about Lou is that he's always been very vocal on social media and funny. Man, is he a funny dude. And I always appreciated his sense of humor. He just seemed like a happy-go-lucky guy. I think he's doing great things down in Florida right now, obviously being in the front office. And yeah, I always liked the cut of his jib, that Roberto Luongo. I thought he was a great ambassador for the game, and your encounter with him is proof of that.
One of the greatest glove hands of all time, one of the greatest legends of all time, one of the most wins of all time, just a winner at every level, and even as a kid, icon and inspiration to myself. So if for some reason Roberto watches the show and sees this clip, dude, thank you for making my early teenage years awesome. That one day in downtown Winnipeg, which was -30, by the way, it was freezing that day, beginning of December. And thanks for the sticks, thanks for the photos, thanks for the memories, dude. You're the man.
That's pretty cool. That's
really
pretty
cool.
awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
I saw Steve Yzerman once, and he nearly ran me over when I was trying to get an autograph when I was a kid. That was my favorite player growing up.
How old were you?
I would have been about 14, 15. Yeah.
And?
He almost ran me over, and he had a cold sore, and he didn't want to. He tried to grow like just a patch of hair over top of his cold sore, and he nearly ran me over, and we signed on autographs, and that was it.
Like a Charlie Chaplin mustache?
Yeah, you tried to just to kind of cover it up. I remember that specifically because I remember like as I was getting traveled over, I'm like, is that a cold sore?
Imagine you're Stevie Y, got some 14-year-old kid show up, and you're like, God, beat it, kid. Reminds me of Spider-Man. Hey, Parker, you're fired. Sir, we need a story. Parker, you're unfired. Let's go.
You're rehired. Get over here.
That guy was a beauty.
Oh, yeah, J. Jonah Jameson?
Mr. Jameson, yeah. Mm-hmm. You tell my wife, thank you. Mr. Jameson, your wife says, watch the blood pressure.
By the way, the same time as that Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight is the same week we get Deadpool and Wolverine, which I am so excited about. I know you don't want to talk a whole lot of Marvel, but boy, am I excited about that one.
I would talk about it, but I'm not really that versed in it. You can go off on it. I don't know much about it. I don't follow much of it.
Nah, I saved that for my radio show. I've got another Marvel nerd that I get to geek out with, but I would like, since we're on the YouTubes, if you're a Marvel fan and a fan of all that kind of stuff, go follow the channel New Rockstars. Man, they do some great breakdowns. Like any stitch of film that gets released out of the House of Mouse when it comes to Marvel, they are on it and they are breaking it down and they are theorizing. If you're a nerd like that, you will love New Rockstars and a guy by the name of Eric Voss. He's fantastic.
Real quick before we cap off, though, so Dave and I are going to go to Saskatoon. We're also going to film a little bit of a behind the scenes of his morning show, Wheeler in the Morning. It's maybe like a 3-4 minute video that'll come up on this channel in the month of July. So it's going to go hand in hand with the reaction video. So I'm curious if there's anything specific you want to know about Dave's morning show, because we talked about this last week. When Dave does his morning show, it's like helter skelter, go, go, go for 4 hours. But when I'm there, I do what you think Dave is doing. I sit there, I have about 6 coffees, I take a couple breaks, I go clean out all the sponsored food in the lobby that they drop off for freebies, I do the weather for an hour or two, call it a day. So if you want to know what Dave's morning's like, leave suggestions what you'd want to see, and I'll make that video happen this July. Also, like I mentioned, the reaction videos is going to take over for the show. So June 30th is going to be our last show of the season. We're going to take the month of July off. August is going to be interviews, and then the regular scheduled programming will come back in September. But the reaction videos for the month of July, plus behind the scenes with Wheeler in the Morning.
Yeah, and I got to give you props. I don't think you've given enough of a preview of this upcoming, we'll call it a Canadian tour of all the old railway hotels. I've had a chance to see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff and some early edits, and believe me when I tell you, it is an absolute love letter to the old ways of travel in this country, and the fact that a lot of these edifices are still standing. You're going to get a really nice tour through all of them. So kudos to you, sir. I'm really looking forward to this hitting the internet and getting people's eyeballs on it.
I'm excited to see what people think. Like, this has never been done before, and nobody's ever stayed at all the railway hotels, or at least as many of them as possible. So June 30th has it's going to start. So June 30th will be the Banff Springs and the Chateau Lake Louise, the Palliser in Calgary, Hotel Vancouver, Fort Garry, Royal York, Bessborough in Saskatoon, Hotel McDonald in Edmonton, and then I think the Jasper Park Lodge will be the last episode I do. But it's going to be a whole series spanning last day of June through July and into August, and I'm excited to see what people think, because this is an actual filmmaking series, not the regular vlog. The regular vlog will come back in the fall, in like end of August, beginning of September. But man, Grand Railway Hotels of Canada, my love letter to Canada and traveling and touring and all that great, beautiful stuff.
No, it's awesome. I'm looking forward to it, man. Another great show. Welcome to June, everybody. We're going to hand out the Stanley Cup this month. That's pretty exciting. I'm excited to see if, curious to know, who's going to be in the finals. Let us know down in the chat. Who's going to be out of the East and the West? Because, man, if Ottner keeps making those paddle saves, my God, holy moly, is he good.
Oh, he is so, again, Dude, every NHL goalie is so nasty. That paddle save Ottinger made, the breakaway toe save where he fell over ass backwards and still found a way to make a save. Like the old saying goes, you find a way. You got to be good to be lucky, lucky to be good. I'm going to quote the late, great Don Cherry, and I say late, great because CBC destroyed his career. Anyway, conspiracy theory. But anyway, thank you everybody for listening to the show.